And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live here on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks and Zingo TV channel 761. Great to be with you on this February the 1st, 2022. Hey, to all my listeners and viewers out there on the East Coast, I hope that you've gotten yourself dug out of that blizzard, that nor'easter. I hope everybody's doing okay out there. Just so you know, we're getting ready for our little version of a blizzard coming, or a big old snowstorm. Not quite to the magnitude that you guys had out east, but here in Michigan, we're going to get about a foot to 15 or 16 inches of snow here on through Thursday afternoon. So I'm getting braced for it, and what a better way to get braced for it than to talk some football, some ACHA hockey, MLB, you name it. We're going to talk about it over the next couple of hours. So again, great to be with you here on 12-ounce sports. I got to tell you, my hat's off to Mitch Bernstein. What a great show that he had to start off the Tuesday doubleheader. Jason Stark, MLB talk, a lot of Negro League talk with being the beginning of February with African American History Month, and also with Dale Scott. What a great interview. Boy, does he have a solid lineup. Mitch is setting the bar here on Tuesday nights. Man, I'm going to really have to get my A game going, put my big boy pants on. But I think I've got a good start tonight with some great guests lined up for you. We got Phil Jones coming up here in about 5 minutes. He's down at the Senior Bowl, and he covers the Las Vegas Raiders. We wanted to get him on tonight, talk a little bit about their new coach, Josh McDaniels, getting a second opportunity as a head coach. Well, maybe a third opportunity with that 24-hour stay with Indianapolis back a few years back. So Phil's going to talk to us about his reaction to the Josh McDaniels signing and, everything that's going on with the Raiders. They're kind of in transition again, and we'll get his thoughts on Derek Carr and the whole 9 yards, and also what's going on at the Senior Bowl. Also, coming up at 8:30, Dan Huntley is going to join us. He is from the University of Mary, ACHA's defending Division II champs. They're right up there again, I think ranked number 1 in their regional. So Dan's going to stop by. We'll get an update from him how their season's going out in North Dakota as they get ready for nationals. As, ladies and gentlemen, we're under 40 days from the nationals starting with the ACHA down in St. Louis. It's going to be one hell of a show. I can't wait to go. I'm going to be down there. I'll be bringing updates live from St. Louis with that once I get down there in March 10th through the 20th. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, a little after 9, I had a chance yesterday to sit down with Anthony Greener. He is the head coach of the Skating Rebels. You've heard of the Running Rebels of UNLV. Well, they're the Skating Rebels, and they're doing real well. They are 4th ranked in the ACHA Men's Division I. He's taken that club and really raised the bar out there. It's always interesting to talk to hockey out west, especially in the Southwest, Arizona State, Arizona, UNLV. Such a disadvantage in one regard is getting teams to play them and having to travel to play the teams out east. And so it'll be an interesting conversation, or it was, that we had with Anthony. Can't wait for you to listen to that in the second hour. A lot going on in the NFL right now, good and bad. It sounds like Jim Harbaugh in the last half hour, reports are he has said his goodbyes. And when he heads out to Minneapolis tomorrow to interview with the Vikings, it looks like it's going to be just about a done deal. Things could change, but it could be a done deal with the Vikings and Jim Harbaugh as the saga goes on. So things could be changing in Ann Arbor. When a lot going on in Ann Arbor right now with the hockey team. If we have time, we'll get to that in the latter portion of the show. A lot of COVID stuff that went on that wasn't reported with the men's hockey team in the NCAA. It's a mess right now with them, and things going on with the president stepping down, and Jim Harbaugh probably decided, you know what? Maybe they didn't. Maybe I don't know. He had to take a pay cut last year, remember? And I think he may have harbored a little ill will that he just didn't let on to. There's so much speculation. But until it's final, I'll believe it when I see it. But boy, where there's smoke, there's fire. A lot of the Detroit market radio stations and web pages and whatnot. The one I trust the most, the Wolverine.com, Chris Ballas does such great work with them. He's pretty much reporting that it is almost not quite 100% certain, but it's darn close that he's going to be saying he's said his goodbyes and he's heading for good to Minneapolis for the Vikings job with Minnesota. We'll talk about the Brian Flores situation as well. You know, it's if you haven't heard, he's filing a class action lawsuit claiming discrimination. A lot of things going down with the way that the hiring process went with the Giants and maybe with the Denver Broncos. It's a mess right now. And, I'll give you my feelings on that a little bit later on in the show. And I think he's got a legitimate beef. But, I mean, he's got some cojones to take the stance that he's taken because when you fight the big dogs, and the NFL's a big dog, boy, I tell you what, ask Colin Kaepernick. You know, it could be career suicide as far as being a head coach, but listening to his statement or reading his statement and, reading some of the other things, it could be it's a worthy cause. The NFL, in my opinion, this Rooney Rule, on the surface, it may look good, and maybe there was good intentions in the beginning, but just take a look at who's out there right now as head coach for the African Americans. You've got one. That's Mike Tomlin, and you can't tell me that there isn't more out there that's capable of doing the job that some of these YOs are that we see being hired in the NFL. Some of these retreads, some of these assistant coaches that Detroit has hired over the years, for example, Matt Patricia, Jim Schwartz, Marty Morningweg, Rod Marinelli. I mean, the list goes on. And Detroit's not the only people that have that issue. That, of course, is, so we got a lot to talk about tonight. And, of course, the Super Bowl, okay, outside of Cincinnati, who at the beginning of the year thought the Cincinnati Bengals were going to be going to the Super Bowl? Be honest. I know it wasn't me. I had the favorites going Sunday. I had Kansas City and I had Los Angeles. And it's funny. We'll talk about the Super Bowl throughout the show, but I look at it and I see, all the people in Detroit. There's so many people here that are ripping into Stafford. It's mind-boggling to me. The guy gave his heart and soul to Detroit for 12 years. It's funny, is I found myself rooting for him in the second half. It felt weird. It felt like he was still on the Lions almost. He felt like the prodigal son, going to war or whatever. I mean, he's on his way to the Super Bowl. So that's absolutely amazing. Well, right now, we'll put the Super Bowl talk aside for a moment because I want to bring in a special guest. He's down at the Senior Bowl right now. Phil Jones is joining us. Phil, hey, I know you're busy. Thanks for taking time out tonight to be with us. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
Crazy day today. I'm doing excellent, man. Just living my best life.
Hell, boy, I tell you what, I wish I was right down there with you, especially here in Michigan where we're about to get a foot of snow in the next 24 hours. So enjoy some warm weather. Enjoy some warm weather for me, will you?
Yeah, it's warm. 1 second, hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, it's warm out here. Then you had a nice cool breeze coming in. Like, my flight was kind of crazy this morning. Just coming from out of BWI and then also jumping to, I'm thinking like, oh, you gonna drop me off in Houston? Cool, we got it. No, we got a layover in Houston. We just skipped all over Alabama and just went to Houston and then went to Alabama.
It's crazy out there how they do that. Well, let's get into some Raider talk. You guys got a new head coach out there, Josh McDaniels. This will be technically his third shot because he had that 24-hour stay in Indianapolis. What were you surprised at the hiring and how quick he got? He got in, interviewed, and got the job. Would that surprise you at all?
Well, everybody looks at it as, oh, it was just really Josh McDaniels. But if you really look at it closely, it was Dave Ziegler that got it done.
Yeah.
Dave Ziegler also, he had his interview early that week, both with within that whole front office, Mark Davis, Marcel Reese, Dave Ventrelli, and Ken Herod, who's also sitting in on there. And all of a sudden, you just start hearing this chatter of Josh McDaniels, but it all came from how Dave Ziegler made his presentation, how he won over, these main guys are sitting in the front office for the Raiders, and especially Mark Davis. Yeah. Everybody's, everybody can just wow him and do this, and this, but to have a straight foundation, a 5-point plan, a long-term plan that it is, that's what Mark Davis wants. And the one thing I think he was looking to hear is you're not going to deal with a rebuild.
Yeah.
And, especially like they just came from out of the playoffs. You went 10-7. And I know a lot of folks are like, well, why didn't you just go on and just keep the original staff and just go on and just worry about getting a GM? I think Mark Davis just wanted to move on from anything that was attached to John Gruden. I think he just wanted clean slate. Just let's get it out of there. Let's go and get me a high-powered, offensive-minded head coach that can get it done in the red zone, something where the Raiders have struggled the last 4 years under the Gruden regime 2.0. So you look at Josh McDaniels, even when he was a head coach in Denver, he still managed to have a decent red zone ranking. I believe they ranked at least within the top 18.
Good point. He's a good offensive mind, and it's like you said, Phil. They've got the pieces in place out there. I like the young core of talent they got, and they got a very solid running game. Obviously, you got Darren Waller. The pieces are there.
No, absolutely, the pieces are there, and you look at the salary cap situation right now. The Raiders probably look at about, I'd say up to about $31 million this year, because you bring some money over from last year that you had. I think it was about $8.9 million. But you also have some contracts that already went into effect because you're in the new year of 2022. You factor that in, and you've heard all the rumors and talks that the Raiders are looking to get a guy like Davante Adams. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Raider Nation, I'm just going to let you know that's not going to happen. You got to be financially realistic, and that's one thing that I do love about Dave Ziegler. I'm not going to just put all my dollars into one barrel and just throw it at you and say, make magic, make me a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen like that. You have other pieces that you need to address. It's not like you're going to be getting like bargain bin guys, but you can address these spots where you can get it done. Like, okay, we need to address the right tackle position. You need to go in and get you another D lineman because you have a lot of guys like Solomon Thomas, Jonathan Hankins, Darius Philon. They're free agents.
Yeah.
So you really have no D tackle. So you need to go in and address that. You could probably, I would say bring Thomas and Philon back. They had very good success this past season for the Raiders at D tackle. I know a lot of people thinking that Solomon Thomas was just washed up, but they were absolutely wrong about that, and he was a bright spot on this team. You also have to consider you need to go on and re-sign Casey Hayward. It's a few things you got to do, so you can't just go in and get a guy like Devontae Adams. Now, what you can do, because those contracts are going to be easy to move around, and just go on and restructure and resign. What Dave Ziegler is probably going to look to get, if you're going to get me a wide receiver, I'll look at a guy like DJ Chalk, or I look at a guy like Allen Robinson, who was not appreciated and was not used the proper way in Chicago. That could really benefit Derek Carr. And I know a lot of people also said Derek Carr is going to be getting an extension. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to also drop this here. I don't even see that as happening, because I ran the numbers, and a handful of people have ran the numbers with the Raiders trying to give Derek Carr an extension. It just does not work right now. And from listening to what Dave Ziegler was saying in that press conference with Josh McDaniels, we're going to let you play out the rest of your contract. We're not just going to go in and just say, okay, hey, we're just going to buy and just give you this whole contract extension like your brother running around here saying that you deserve and need to do. That's not going to happen.
Right.
You're going to play out what you got. If you do a great job, we're going to give you the extension. But if we're seeing where you're struggling in the second half, like we've seen the past 3 years in a row, we're going to just move on and get somebody else. Now, I caught eye on one of the Raider scouts today at the Senior Bowl. Key spots that they were looking at: offensive line, and this one guy that's playing quarterback, and he can let it rip. And his name is not Pickett. Malik Willis.
Is that the guy from Liberty?
Yes.
Yeah, he can light it up. He can light it up.
He had a hell of a day. Hell of a day.
That's awesome. He's one of my sleepers, Phil. It's funny.
I think he's going to be the one where everybody's like, well, he went to Liberty, so we're not going to touch him. Wow. Raiders sitting with this 22nd pick. Be right there to grab.
You got to remember who his coach was.
The best thing about it, you don't have to start him right away. He can sit there, learn under Josh McDaniels. So what Josh McDaniels did with Mac Jones. Yeah. You look at what he did with Matt Castle, Jimmy Garoppolo, even Jacoby Brissett. So he's done an excellent job with quarterbacks not named Tom Brady. So this is a good thing for the Raiders. I think this will also ease a lot of minds with, if you were to get another quarterback going forward, that McDaniels can work with them.
And I don't mean to cut you off. One of the things
you're good.
Phil, it's one of the things I'm looking for with the Raiders, and I think Josh McDaniels can do that if given the opportunity. And I know they were going to do it with Gruden if all that other crap didn't happen, is you give them 3 or 4 years. Let that plan work out. And I like what you said at the beginning of the interview, a long-term plan. I think, I think if they give him that opportunity, I think the Raiders can be viable.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right there.
So so tell me what you're looking for at the Senior Bowl while you're down there.
I'm looking at D tackle. I would hate to butcher his name. I'm gonna say it as best as possible. But he stood out as a guy where I was like, "Ooh, this is what I like from an interior D tackle." It's a cat from UCLA. Otito Ogabanye.
Sounds good to me.
this guy, motor still running, blowing right through interior linemen. St. Michigan's guard, he's out there at the Senior Bowl, blew right past him like it was nothing.
Wow.
I mean, like just full force. Like you stole my little brother's Nintendo 64. I'm coming for you.
That's awesome. You know, and it's funny though when you go to something like the Senior Bowl, it seems like the guys that do well in practice, I think their stock goes up much higher than when they play the actual game. Isn't that right?
Yeah, and one thing I noticed over the years of observing the Senior Bowl, and then me now being able to like be there, like right there on the field and sideline view. The main focus is the practice.
Yeah.
It's what you're being able to accomplish in the drills, being able to use critical thinking, whether you're a lineman, whether you're the quarterback, wide receivers, listening, communication. Those are the things. I mean, we all see the game because they're not going to get the full reps that they should be getting. You look at practice is running for about a good 3 hours long. You're going to get everything you need to do.
There you go. There you go. Hey, I got about a minute and a half left. I got to ask you real quick. I'm asking everybody, give me your Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to pull it out?
Well, I ran into old Coach Orgeron. And he said, I'm gonna have to do my best impression. I know if he's listening, he's gonna be like, "Hold up, no, I can't share no gumbo with you." But we were talking about, hey, look, he said, "Hey, I'm going to get some gumbo. You down to get some gumbo? I'm trying to get some gumbo tonight, But I'm gonna go with the kid from Cincinnati, Joe Burrows. I got them winning against the Rams. I'm going to go 24-27.
Ooh, sounds like a good score to me. It's going to be a darn close game. I think it's going to be a great game.
It's going to be a hard-fought game. It's something that a lot of fans have been wanting to have. You don't want something lopsided. You don't want to see the same old teams over and over again. Now that to be honest, Cincinnati broke the curse.
Yeah. Well,
the curse has been broken. So once someone has broken a curse, it is time to get what you deserve. It's time to walk away with the Lombardi.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. The curse of Bobby Lane's been with us for 63 years, so I'm right there with you. Phil?
I say real quick, since you're a Detroit Lions fan, a lot of the players from the American side, they love the coaching staff. They were so energetic. They were so hyped with them. It made me want to run out on that field.
Dan Campbell's a trip, man. I would go through a wall for him. Now, hopefully you can start translating that into some wins for us next year. Phil, hey, thanks for taking time out tonight. Go get some gumbo. Enjoy the Senior Bowl practice. And, hey, keep up what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Love following you. Thanks, man.
All right, now you take care now.
All right, Phil, you too. Phil Jones joining us. You can catch him on Postgame Central, at Phil Jones NFL, at Unfiltered Truth. Great insight on the Raiders. It's going to be interesting with Josh McDaniels for sure. See if he can turn around the Raiders' fortune or get them elevated to that next step as, with what they did this year, a 10-7 record with everything that went on with Ruggs, with John Gruden, Mayock, the whole 9 yards. Kind of a crap show there, but they got the pieces in place to do it. Derek Carr is going to be the key to that, and we'll see if he can put it together for Josh McDaniels and company. Hey, we're going to take a break. Dan Huntley's settled to join us here in about 3 minutes, so we'll step aside. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live. You're on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks and Zingo TV channel 761.
12-ounce Sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12-ounce Sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 120OZE and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sports book. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-ounce Sports platform and networks. We're on Twitter, Facebook, you name it, and a Zingo TV channel 761. Hey, let's get right back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza guest line, and let's bring in a return guest. He is the head coach of the defending ACHA Division II men's squad. That's the University of Mary. It's Dan Huntley. Dan, thanks for taking time out again tonight. How are you? Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to you. I'm doing great, and things are going well. We're into February already, and I see Jim Harbaugh might be coming to coach the Vikings, huh?
Boy, I tell you what, Dan, I read that about 7:15 tonight. You know, you hear about it all day long. You're thinking, why is he going there for signing day? And it just, where there was smoke, there's fire. And I just, yeah, it's from what I read, he said his goodbyes to the staff and to his team. And man, it's kind of unusual timing, but you know, got to go strike while the iron's hot, I guess, eh?
No doubt, no doubt. Well, good.
Yeah. So, you know, again, we talked about it. You guys are, you know, I just, if you don't mind, just want to talk briefly. You know, you won the championship last year. You and I have talked many times about the journey you guys had, you know, getting to the D2 level, not being able to qualify the first year, then COVID, and, you know, finally being able to grab that brass ring after a journey just of such, you know, it was long for you. It had to be just such just a feeling of accomplishment.
It was, you know, it's we had some great leadership by our kids. We had a lot of perseverance, and they were very driven last year during the tournament. And you know, I could feel that it didn't matter what we faced, what was going to come up against us at that point. Our guys were so committed to each other and committed to the guys who didn't get to play the year before. And you know, we had a lot of them there, and you know, it was really nice that you know, we won it. We raised the cup, and then we had those guys on the ice with us to celebrate. And so it was nice to bring that full circle. Those guys felt like they were part of the program, and they took a lot of pride in this past year's team winning it, even though they weren't on the ice with us. So it was pretty cool. That's really, you know, it really helps to develop a program.
And you know, we've talked about how the university itself just grows towards you guys and your team. It you know, I read about it and how much fun you know it was for not just for the hockey team, but for everybody there.
Yeah, you no doubt. I mean, anytime you can host a national championship and win it in front of your home fans, in front of your student section, in front of the parents that are down there, and it's not you know, not 60 people at a big facility that you know, you're holding up a cup. So you know, it's really fun for everybody to be you know, able to do that and have our kids have that extra time. You know, the weird part about last year was, you know, we were right in finals, and we win it on Tuesday night, and our finals ended on Wednesday.
Oh,
And we had some exit meetings the next morning. So the emotions of, hey, hey, we're up on top of the world, and then we'll see you next August. There was no celebration on campus. There was really nothing that happened. So it was kind of a, not, I wouldn't say a letdown, but it was just kind of surreal to say, hey, this happened, and we really had to know that celebration was what we had that night, and to be able to kind of bring that stuff back into this year. We got a few of those guys that came back. Our National Player of the Year, Zach Garrett, returned for his sixth college year because of COVID, and so he's back. He's leading us in scoring again and doing great things. And so we're excited for what's happening right now with how our season has gone and what we've got here coming up in the next few weeks.
Dan, I know you guys started out the season. We'll start talking about 2021, 22 now. You had a couple of tight games against Iowa State, and I'm not going to take anything away from them. But as you as a coach, were you worried about the hangover coming off of that season?
Certainly. I mean, it's it's a different team, and we lost some key people that played significant roles for us. We had most of our defensemen were back, our leading scorers were back, but one real physical top end player out of our first line center was gone, and I still don't think we've replaced him. We've got different people that have filled the role this year, but we're excited. Andy Huber, he's actually decided that he went into the National Guard. He's serving a year in Washington, D.C., and he's going to come back and go to grad school. So he has 2 years of eligibility left, and so he's going to come back and play next year, and then he'll be in our first year as a D1 program in 23-24. So we're excited to have him back. He's a beast on the ice for us, and that's going to help us down the road with what we have up the middle of the rink. I mean, there were certain things, we had our first home game, and then you're going through the ceremonies and the banner raising, and we're handing out rings, and all those other kind of things that are kind of distracting to this year's team when some of those guys weren't even around. You kind of see it with the New York Rangers the other night, and you do some of those. You just want to get through it, and then hope that you guys can come out and be electric. I think we've persevered through some of that stuff. We had a couple hiccups at Liberty when we went out there in October. It is what it is. They beat us 2 games, and we had some tough travel, and we had a couple guys out of the lineup at that point that didn't go with us, and for personal reasons of one defenseman went to a wedding, and these guys have lives outside of hockey. That's the neat thing is that, hey, we can do this, and it's not the end of the world if we lose a game.
Right.
And so I encourage those guys to do everything they can and try to be good family members and groomsmen or whatever they need to do at this time of their life, and because those are also memories they're going to make, and they want to be part of that stuff. So but then we've responded, and we haven't lost a D2 game since that time in October, and so it's gone well for us. We had a tough week in December where we played Jamestown and lost to them, their D1 team, and lost to them in overtime, and then played Minot, who's number 2 in the nation right now at the D1 level, and lost two good games, 4-1, 5-2, and they've really beat us on the power play. They're really talented and move the puck, and their power play was what won the games for. So I think that we've played a tough schedule. You look at the strength of schedule and the rankings, and I think we're 4th or 5th for the strength of schedule. So we didn't shy away from anybody, and we've gone out and performed well, and here we sit, number 1 again, and that's pretty exciting for our kids to be able to get through all that stuff.
Dan, it's funny as you and I have talked, and I don't think I don't think enough people throughout the country know just how competitive it is in North Dakota at the ACHA D1 and D2 level. And you put on top of that, you guys won the title last year. So you've got that target on your back, and you're getting the best out of all the schools, D1, D2, and like you said, you rose to the occasion.
Yeah, it's fun, and that's what you want to challenge your
Yeah.
kids. And that's that was the biggest reason of why we made our application to D1, and why we did it right now. In November, after the November deadline, for 2021, 22, or 22, 23, we waited until afterwards because we were really looking for an opportunity in a conference, and didn't think that this was the right time, and then something popped for us, and so we made the application. We got accepted for the 23-24 season. So we've got another year to go, but this year's recruiting class, I thought it was important for them to know that we're moving up, that they're an important part of what we're trying to do for the future. And, we've got 5 or 6 guys that we need to bring in next year. And then the following year, we only need 2. So this year's recruiting class was going to be our most, important one besides our first one, to get us to that D1 level. And so we've got 13 D1 games next year, that we're kind of playing a transitional schedule. And so it's going to be fun to challenge our guys and be a good D2 team for another year. And then, get ourselves ready for that step and move up and be ready to compete with those teams that are at the D1 level.
We're talking to Dan Huntley. He's the head coach of the University of Mary. The Marauders are, again, as he mentioned, right up at the top of D2 again this year and number 1 in their region. Dan, it's you guys now, and the other thing to look at, I was talking with Dave Kurtz last week on the show, and how the D2 level is by far the biggest one in the country right now of all 5 divisions. So you still have to do the regionals, but that just means there's, it's a little more of an accomplishment, yes, but boy, you got to be on your game, because I look at a team like Dakota College, Botno. They've got a good year right now, but things aren't, they're not where they would like to be in the regional standings right now.
Well, there's the interesting fact on all those things. The 2 of us, they came out of I think they were the 7th seed last year, in the tournament, and the 2 of us, we went 7-1 in the tournament.
Huh.
And so you continue to talk about quality of hockey here.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good run by those teams. They were 2-1 in their pool and didn't make it through. And then we went 5-0, but they've had a good year. We have 2 games against them this weekend, and they're plugging away. They got that number 2 seed right now in the West, and the top 2 teams in each region in D2 get a bye to the national tournament. So they're doing everything they can to hold on to that spot, and I think they've got enough of a gap in their rankings that whatever happens the next 2 weeks, we play them 3 times in the next 2 weeks. So that's going to help their strength of schedule, whether they win or lose. And they've got a bunch of other games as well. So I think they're going to get a bye, and they're going to get that 2 seed out of the West, and then they won't have to go to regionals, and we don't either. As the number 1 seed. So it's exciting to be in that spot. Our guys can relax a little bit this time of the year, and not have to worry about having to perform on the last weekend of February to have a chance to make another trip to a tournament somewhere.
Well, I have to apologize because I was looking for Botno on the rankings. I just saw Dakota College when you mentioned that. So for those that are listening, I apologize about selling you guys short. You are the number 2 seed behind University of Mary. My apologies. My goodness. All right, then. I guess maybe I'm still a little down from listening about Harbaugh getting going to Minnesota.
And Stafford going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God. I tell you what, Dan, it's incredible. I'm happy for him. I hope he wins. All the hard work he had in Detroit. The guy he did so much for the city of Detroit, man. I'm really happy for him. I'm rooting for him coming up.
No doubt. And then you got Eminem doing the halftime show. It's all Detroit this year.
I know. I may even have to watch the halftime show. I told my wife, I said I usually don't watch, but maybe I will just for that.
Yeah.
Hey, I look at
awesome.
I look at your team. We talk about how you like balanced scoring, but what really stands out to me, Dan, is your 2 D guys, Tashida and Wiltsey, Witzke, 31 points apiece, on the DN. You mentioned Flick and Garrett and Cushing right up there on top. I just look at the balance scoring that you have. It's just incredible.
Oh, it's we're so lucky, and then we've got Tanner Escrow, who's been a third line guy for us most of the last 2 years, and I think he got 6 points in his last 3 games. He had 4 against it was Williston the other night, and then he had back-to-back games with shorthanded goals. And so guys are having opportunities to do some special things, and it's fun to watch those guys grow and develop. And I think we've got 22 skaters, and 21 of them have scored goals, and we've just got one defenseman that hasn't scored yet. That's a kid from Michigan, and Ryan Wolf. And we finally spread our wings out to get outside of Minnesota and North Dakota, and so guys are trying to get him. They were telling me to put him up front the other night, and I said, no, he can struggle this year. If he gets a goal, he'll get a goal because he deserves it, not because we found a way to sneak him in somewhere. So, but it's fun. We've got some great talented players that have done great things for us here in the 4 years, and they continue to do it year after year. None of them have had blips on the radar, that said, hey, they had a bad sophomore season or whatever it is. They've all just continued to grow, and it's fun. And then you got to talk about our goaltending and Kyle Hayden. And first team All-American last year. We had 3 goaltenders in a row become All-Americans in 3 different years, and Kyle was the most valuable player of the national tournament last year, and he's leading the nation in wins, and I expect him to be an All-American again, and great things that continue to happen because we have great goaltending, and then that goes right to the defensemen, to the forwards, and it makes my job a lot easier.
Can you believe it? The season's flown by so fast, Dan. I mean, we're 40 days from nationals already?
I know it. It's crazy. I'm really excited. I'm hoping you're going to be down there.
I am. As a matter of fact, I talked to Craig Barnett this afternoon. I shot him a text to confirm it, and he said, "Yeah, you're on board, man." So,
all right.
Yeah, vacation
sounds good.
time's
I've been waiting
set.
for 3 years here to meet you in person, and it'll be nice to bump into you and talk in person one time down there.
Heck yeah! Before I let you go, now I'm always fascinated by this with during the season. How much time do you get to recruit during the season? Is it? I mean, I know you've got other responsibilities with the athletics at University of Mary, but
yeah,
how much time can you devote to recruiting during the year, during the actual year?
Yeah, you know what? It's COVID really taught people to do things differently, and hockey TV has really taken off and provides everybody an opportunity to watch games. So you don't have to watch them at night. You can watch them during the day in the office, because they're all on replay. And so you can go back and watch guys. You can fast forward through games and watch shifts and do other things and see, hey, how did that guy play last night? We've been talking to him, and you can go just watch a period or whatever it is and see, how did he do? So I think we've learned to use video recruiting a lot more, and I think teams are saving a lot of money, and they don't have to go out and watch in person. And I think kids are starting to get used to that there's not going to be people at their games for the most part, and they can still get recruited well, and you still want to have that interaction. So I still make a lot of phone calls. It's a lot easier when you only need 4 or 5 guys.
Oh boy.
So that you can, you don't have to, throw a net over and grab 10 guys a year. So you can focus a little bit more. We've got some good kids that we've, over the years that we've already started with. We've got some good local, kids that are out of the Manitoba and Saskatchewan League this year that are Bismarck kids that are aging out as juniors. And so we're hopeful that, we really want to have them stay at home, and they've got some other options. And so, we're fighting, tooth and nail to make sure that those kids stay home and give us that opportunity and really kind of continue that, we tier 2 recruitment that we need to have to be competitive at the D1 level. If we get those kids and they come in, we're going to be really good next year. But we'll be competitive the year after, and hopefully that brings us in the top 20 and an opportunity to get to a D1 tournament and all those kind of things that everybody wants. But a reality is that everybody thinks they're going to be there that first day of practice, and then they realize after the first 5 or 6 games that they don't have a chance. And so hopefully we can be competitive and continue to drive our strength of schedule by playing great teams and learn how to kind of walk that system at the D1 level.
Well, before you get to all that, you've got a big weekend. Like you said, you got Dakota College, Bottineau coming up this weekend, top 2 teams in the West. Dan, good luck for that this weekend, and thanks for coming on. I look forward to meeting you in about a month down in St. Louis if everything works out right.
Sounds great, Lou. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dan. Anytime. Thank you.
Yep.
Dan Huntley, the head coach of the University of Mary, the Marauders, #1 in the West Regional. And they got a big matchup this weekend. And again, I apologize to the folks at Bottineau. I only saw Dakota College on there, and I thought, man, those guys are doing real well. They're not in the top 16. They were right there last year in nationals, but my bad on that one. I apologize. They're ranked #2. They're going to have one heck of a weekend set down there. And again, we talked about this. We'll talk about it again. When you look at the ACHA at the D2 level, it's a hidden gem. The talent and the teams in the North Dakota area. You've got, and D1 for that matter. You've got Minot State, as Dan mentioned, ranked #2 in Division I. They were right there in the finals. They're always there. Their women's program is right up on top, a national champion. You've got Jamestown, the Jimmies in Division I and Division II, both real solid. You got, again, Dakota College. You got University of Mary. You got that's just some of them right there. And it's so much fun to look at. I mean, you've got Williston State College. They're right there. They got an opportunity to make it into the regionals. So fun to watch. It's a great brand of hockey out there. And as he mentioned, Hockey TV as well is a great venue for it. That's what we're going to be. I'm going to be part of that this year at the Nationals down for the ACHA. And I'm going to bring all the coverage, all the updates right here on 12 Ounce Sports too. Get interviews with all the coaches and some of the players. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be less than 40 days. It starts March 10th. So 38 days. It gives me something to think about with this big old snowstorm coming here in Michigan. We're going to get hit here in about 4 or 5 hours. It's going to start snowing and not stop for about 36 hours. I know what you're saying over there on the East Coast. Hold my beer. We got 2 feet of snow. I get it. But I can remember growing up on Lake Superior, we used to get that all the time. It just wasn't publicized. Because I was looking at snow totals, not to digress, but my hometown's already gotten 140 inches of snow this year, and they still probably are due for another 60 or 70. That being Munising up in the Great White North. Thanks to Dan Huntley. They're in snow country as well out in North Dakota. He's probably sitting there right now thinking, you guys aren't getting anything compared to what we get. And he's right. But anyways, thanks to Dan Huntley, always gracious with his time. They've got such an excellent program there. Moving up to D1 in a couple of years. They are the defending champions in the ACHA Men's Division II. It's going to be one heck of a tournament there. Pool play. That's the only division. Well, I take that back. Division I is like a bracketed format, D2 and D3 pool play. Their pool play starts on the 14th, I believe, of March. So really looking forward to that. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to get back talking a little football. And then coming up at about 9:10, we're going to play our interview with Anthony Greener, the head coach of the Skating Rebels of the Nevada-Las Vegas, University of Nevada-Las Vegas, ranked 4th in the country in Division I of the ACHA. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports platform and networks and Zingo TV, channel 761. Don't go anywhere.
12-ounce sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12-ounce sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 12OZE and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sports book. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Yours truly, Captain Lou, in the chair here until approximately 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks to Dan Huntley from the University of Mary. The Marauders ranked number 1 in the Western Regional and ranked pretty much number 1 all year in Division II. They are sitting pretty good, the defending Division II ACHA National Champions, as they look to strengthen their hold on a automatic bid for the Nationals coming up down in St. Louis on the week of between March 10th and March 20th. Again, 5 divisions in the ACHA, all are going to converge on St. Louis. It's going to be 10 days of exciting hockey, 3 men's divisions, 2 women's divisions, some great hockey on all levels down there. And if you're in that area, I invite you to stop on out. As I always say when I go to Nationals, if you see a bald-headed guy walking around looking lost, just come up to him and say, Captain Lou, how the heck are you? And I'd love to talk to you. So, again, thanks to Dan, and good luck to them against Dakota College at Bottineau. Number 1 and 2 teams in the Western Regional as they duke it out this weekend to solidify their spot with an opportunity to go to Nationals. How it works in Division II in the ACHA is the top 2 teams in each region, they go automatically down to St. Louis. They don't have to play at regionals. And what they're going to do this year is they've got teams 3 through 14 will go to each regional tournament. And when they get there, it's a 3-day tournament. The top 4 teams get a bye into the semifinal round, well, quarterfinal round. What they do then, it's just bracketed play. You win 2, you're in. Or in some instances, you have to win 3. And we've seen it. With teams that have run the gauntlet to win 3 games in a row. We saw it with the ACHA when the regionals were in Division II when they were in Grand Rapids, yes. And Davenport did it back in 2020. Unfortunately, that season was wiped out because of COVID, but everything's a go, and we're really looking forward to seeing that. So, I mean, it's fun as a broadcaster or a fan to watch the excitement of the games. They're nerve-wracking. Seen a lot of them go down to the last minute. We've talked a lot about regional play, and I look back to Aquinas College when they were Division III back in 2017. When they won it all, they had to go through regional play. They were the 3rd seed in their region. And on the second day to go qualify for nationals, they had to beat Lawrence Tech. 1-0 was the score. And Lawrence Tech's goaltender, 65 saves or whatever. Aquinas got a goal in that opening period of that game, and it held up. And I remember broadcasting that game. It was absolutely incredible. And Aquinas went on to pool play. They won out. They won 5 games, and they were national champs. So you got to win to get in. So you got to win 2 games at least if you're not one of the top 2 seeds in each region. So they're all going to converge on St. Louis. We will continue to update you on everything that goes on. We're going to have all the up-to-date results for the regionals. Those are coming up here at the end of February. It's coming up quick. And before you know it, everybody's going to converge on St. Louis, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks to Dan Huntley for joining us here as we wind down to the end of the first hour. Welcome everybody to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports. All of our platform and channels with 12 Ounce, our website, 12ouncesportsradio.com. Catch us live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and of course you can watch us as always on Zingo TV channel 761. We've had great guests here. Phil Jones joining us in the first portion of the show, and then Dan Huntley, of course, talking some ACHA hockey. Again, we've got an interview that I sat down and taped with yesterday with Anthony Greener from the Runnin' Rebels, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. They're ranked 4th in the country in Division I. We'll listen to that in about 10 to 15 minutes, so stick around for that. Want to mention our main sponsor, BetUS. Super Bowl is coming up in about 10 days or 12 days. Cincinnati and Los Angeles. And if you want to put a couple of shackles on the game, I invite you to do this. Go to 12ouncesportsradio.com/BetUS. And that'll take you right to the website. And you can see the lines, the latest lines on the game. I think LA is a 4.5-point favorite right now against Cincinnati. Man, it seems like an awful lot of points. An awful lot of points. But, that's the line right now. And when you go there, you'll see all the prop bets, the over-under. You can do a teaser bet. But when you make that first deposit, you see it right there on the screen. Use the promo code 12ounce, 120Z. You will get 125% as a sign-up bonus. It's free money. There's no gimmicks. There's no fine print. You put $100 in there, you will get an extra $125 to bet with. That's $225. You could bet maybe a little bit extra on your favorite team, either Cincinnati or Los Angeles, to win the big game. Bet something on basketball, whatever. Like I said, teaser bets. That's what I do. That's what I've found to be the most successful for me this year, is betting the teasers. And I've done quite well with them, I will admit. Knock on wood. But check it out. That's BetUS. And the easiest way to do it is to go to 12Ounce Sports Radio /BetUS. You go on there, make your first deposit. You use the promo code 120Z. It's right there. It's that simple. It's the lock of the century. You can't lose on that. You'll get 125%. You put $50 in, they'll give you an extra $62.50 to bet with, up to $1,000. But if you put $500 in, I'm going to do the math on that. You get an extra $625. It's that simple. So there you go. Speaking of the Super Bowl, it is Cincinnati. It is Los Angeles. Us Detroit Lion fans, as Dan Huntley mentioned, kind of bittersweet, but I am legitimately happy for Matt Stafford making it to the Super Bowl. He struggled so long with the Lions, and I know some of it was his fault. He lost some games for Detroit. It's very difficult. I'm going to tell you right now, it's very difficult as a Lions fan to listen to all the negative rhetoric towards Detroit. I mean, 90% of it's true. He had no help, blah, blah, blah. He had no running game. I get it. He had a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Calvin Johnson, but the two of them couldn't do it all. And they had some coaches that were less than stellar. But they went to 3 playoff games. Matt Stafford did not lose those playoff games. He didn't help himself in the Seattle game. But again, we'll go through it. You look back at that New Orleans game in 2011. He didn't play defense. They gave up 45. Now, again, they were up 14-7, a pick six the other way, or a fumble or whatever. Should have been 21-7 down in New Orleans. Who knows what would have happened after that. And that Dallas game, again, I won't go through it. All it's going to do is piss me off, and I'm not going to do it. But they should have won that game. They had that one in the bag. Tony Romo wouldn't have, So, and speaking of Tony Romo, my God, wasn't he annoying on Sunday? Enough. He doesn't always have to prove to be the smartest guy in the room. Oh my God. I tell you, it makes me appreciate Troy Aikman a lot better. It was like night and day in those two games. Night and day. And I don't know. Troy Aikman does not try to be the broadcast. He lets the game be the broadcast. You can say what you want about Joe Buck. But, everybody thinks he's rooting against their team, and it sounds like it sometimes. I used to think that when he was doing the World Series or play-by-play against the Detroit Tigers, he was always for Boston. But they sound so much better. Jim Nantz obviously is an icon, but boy, oh boy, his back must really be sore carrying Tony Romo because that shtick is old. It's annoying, and I'm glad they're not doing the Super Bowl. Chris Collinsworth, I can handle. And Al Michaels, it could be his swan song. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. Joe Burrow, what can you say about Joe? I tell you, Joe Cool, we talked about it last week. Everybody was talking about Josh Allen and Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, being the top two quarterbacks for the next decade. Joe Burrow said, wait a minute, hold my beer, hold my cigar. And they made a comeback at the ages. But, we could talk about that. We could talk about what the hell they were thinking right before halftime, that being Kansas City. They're up 21-10. That one's on Mahomes, but that one's also on Andy Reid. But I think more so on Mahomes. Why did he try to do why didn't he throw it away? Use your head. And boy, oh boy, that stop lit the fire under the asses of Cincinnati. They went down only 11 points down. Boy, did that momentum change. I still will not bet against Patrick Mahomes yet. He's a dynamite quarterback. I mean, what he's done to start his career has been absolutely amazing. But could Joe Burrow take the Cincinnati Bengals to the next step and win the Super Bowl? Would you have thought that? I'd look at his poise, his confidence. And, like I said, it's a different kind of cockiness. He's not rubbing it in people's faces. He just goes out and says they're going to win. A little bit of Joe Namath in him. And I love it. He's Joe Cool. He's not belittling other players. He's not talking smack in their faces like a lot of these divas do once they start winning a couple of games. It's two really cool stories coming up for the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford going from Detroit to LA already in the Super Bowl. And, and then you look at Cincinnati with Joe Cool, with Joe Burrow. What is he? The only one to win a Heisman, a national title, and now an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. And it's his second year. How amazing is that? And again, it's funny. We've got a couple of guys here that say, well, defenses aren't showing up. Whose defense showed up in the second half in both those games and was the difference? That and bad coaching. Cincinnati's defense and LA's defense. And we talk about bad coaching. LA won despite Sean McVay. And Kyle Shanahan again kind of pooped the bed with in a big-time game with the lead. First of all, Sean McVay, what are you doing with these challenges? I mean, what I guess my question is, who upstairs tells him in that headset, you can win this challenge? Or when he's thinking about, I'm going to challenge this, that fumble or the spot, who's up there saying, yeah, you got to do it? Why aren't they up there saying, you're not going to win, save the challenge? And then they bungled it in the first half, had to waste a timeout. And then then I look at the other side of the ball with Kyle Shanahan. Why did you take Deebo Samuel out of the offense? Now, Jimmy G, I know he kind of crumbles maybe a little bit under pressure. And it showed, LA dialed up the pressure in the fourth quarter. What, they only had 8 plays or whatever in the fourth quarter? I mean, you can say what you want about that missed interception, but they got the ball back, and they look so intimidated in that fourth quarter. To me, that starts with coaching. Kyle Shanahan, he gets all the accolades, this and that. And I came on here last week and said he looked really good in that win over Green Bay. But I look at this loss against Los Angeles, and I look at both the games, and I think, all right, you got a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who pretty much froze out his other wide receivers besides Devontae Adams, played his favorites. That played right into the hands of San Francisco. And then they got beat this week. I'm not going to make my Super Bowl prediction until next week's show, because I'm going to dissect both coaching staffs. Love Zach Taylor, what he's done at Cincinnati. Is he a genius? No. But I look at Sean McVay and I think, all right, you're playing on borrowed time in some regards. Some of the coaching decisions that you make, clock management, whatever. The guy's supposed to be a genius. Now, Matt Stafford's bailed him out. Matt Stafford almost handed it over to San Francisco if Taft wouldn't have dropped that interception. But you know what? Ifs and buts, right? LA and Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. You know me, I had Green Bay. I had them pegged to go. Obviously, they didn't even make it to the championship game. Now they've got 100 questions to answer with Hackett gone to Denver as the head coach. Obviously you got Devontae Adams, the free agent. Are they going to tag him? Are they going to just let him walk? Then, of course, Aaron Rodgers. But now I've had Green Bay and Kansas City going to the Super Bowl, as a lot of people did. Thought half of it was going to be right, but I didn't think Andy Reid would spit the bit and Patrick Mahomes turn out to have his worst half of football in the postseason in his career. He was due for one. Do I think this is an aberration? It waits to be seen. They're going to be right back there. I really believe that. And they're going to retool, fine-tune it, if you will. Maybe get a little more blocking on that offensive line, but they're going to be right there again. But, hey, that's next year. Right now it's Cincinnati's turn. And momentum's a crazy thing. I'm not comparing them to Brady, who we will talk about at the bottom of the hour about his retirement. We'll talk about Jim Harbaugh. We got so much left to talk about. We'll get into that. But when we come back, I want to play the interview I had with Anthony Greener from the Running Rebels, the Skating Rebels of UNLV. We're going to go to that. 4th-ranked team in ACHA D1. Then we'll talk more football in the last half hour of the show. You are watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV, Channel 761.
Ounce Sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12-Ounce Sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 120OZE and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sports book. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV, channel 761. And now we're pleased to be joined by the head coach of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the Skating Rebels. That's Anthony Greener. Anthony, thanks for taking time out tonight. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Hey, the pleasure's all mine. You guys off to a great start this year. Obviously, you had a great first semester and a big weekend, kind of a road trip for you, taking on Liberty, another D1 Power. Talk a little bit about how your past weekend's games went.
Yeah, it's the first time there. Obviously, top tier program, always in the top 5. Something that we want to get to. I think we're on the way, but yeah, it was a long road trip. Tough to get there, just with not a lot of direct flights into Lynchburg. So we fly into Richmond, and then you got a 2-hour bus ride, and then go into a hostile atmosphere with 4,700 fans. What more could you ask for as a player standpoint?
Oh, I agree that, you go into a place like that, the facilities there are top notch. I've been there. It's been a few years, but yeah, when you got the crowd coming down on that and you guys got a split, I know you had a nice long winning streak going into this weekend, but it looked like you guys came out okay.
Yeah, if you can go on the road to an opponent like that and split, we'll definitely take that. Obviously, you're shooting for 2 wins, but realistically, home ice advantage. They play really well at home. We won 16 straight previous to that, so we were due for one. You can't win them all, and it goes to show the team and the character that we have on the team to bounce back for their midnight game and have 4,700 people kind of quieted after we win.
Anthony, I looked at your schedule. You guys, you take on all comers. I look at you played Jamestown this year. You played Adrian College, all right up there. I think Adrian's the defending champion. Arizona State, Minot State. My goodness, you guys have really picked up a gauntlet this year.
Yeah, we try to do the scheduling just kind of prepare us for the national tournament. Mm-hmm. Obviously, with the last 2 years, unable to attend due to the pandemic, but previous years, we've always won the first one and then kind of gets bounced for the second. So one of our goals is to be in that top 4, the rankings, where you get that first round bye and then kind of just play it as it goes on. So right now we're on track. But yeah, just for the schedule, we're just trying to prep it for it's the national tournament, because all those teams that we're trying to play should and will be there at the end of the tournament.
How difficult is it to get a schedule like this together? The reason I ask you that is, in the years that I've been involved covering the ACHA, it's a lot easier for the teams over here on the east side of the country to pick up a game where they can maybe drive 2 or 3 hours or whatever. You got to get teams that come cross country, as yourself going cross country. Talk a little bit about that, Coach, how difficult that really is and how much of a testament it is to your team being able to go cross country and do all of that.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it starts with the donors. Because if we didn't have great donors, we wouldn't be able to make trips like that. That's a $20,000 trip. Yeah. So without donors like that, that's step one. And then 2, same thing with the other teams. That they have to put in their budget. So financially and logistically, it's kind of a nightmare. But you get around that. That's where you want to be. You want to play the top teams. You want to make it where you could play a home set and they can play a home set. Like next year, Liberty's coming to us. Thing just so you see where in all sports, home teams always play better at home. It's just common that way. You should feed off your crowd. So now we have Liberty coming to us next year, and kind of even the playing field. But for us to be able to take 2 or 3 from them, we played at a neutral site in Chicago this year, got up there, and then to split 1-1 at home, that's a win for us.
Well, you take a look at your team. Let's go towards that real quick. Real balanced scoring. I look at their stats throughout the year. You've got over a dozen of the guys in double figures for points. Really spread out well. That's gotta make you smile when you see that.
Yeah, and I think in years past we were so top 6 heavy where we depended on them. So if they went through a struggle, we were going to kind of go on a struggle. My staff and myself, I think, have done a really good job over the last couple of years of just building a team that's built on character and culture, and not just skill. And then that, excuse me, and then that just shows we're at. I feel comfortable putting and I roll 4 lines for the entire game. So we're real well balanced. Our top center could be our third center. Night in, night out, it's switching. But it just shows that the character of the kids, we're just so dependent. We're not so dependent on top 6 like we have been in the past. We're just deep. Goalie, kind of. I don't say we have a backup. We have 1A, 1B kind of thing. We have 7 strong D-men that can go in the lineup every night, and then we have 15 forwards that are fighting for 12 spots every week in practice.
Well, it shows that you're successful too, Coach. I look at your goals against for the year. You've given up 62 goals going into this weekend set. So that's about under 2.5 goals a game. That's impressive. And I know it's the old adage, but boy, great defense will get you great results, and it sure looks like it for you this year.
Yeah, and it starts from our back end with our goalie, and goalies. I feel comfortable putting either one, but Zach Wixon, he's a different kind of player. I'm not just saying that because he's on our team. In big games, he wants to be in the net. Like, he doesn't shy away. He was kind of injured and kind of battled back this last 2 weeks to get in the net. We weren't even expecting him to play this weekend, but shows to our training staff really putting in the work with him and him doing all the little things to get back, and him coming on Saturday and wanting the net and coming to me Saturday morning saying he's ready. He got cleared, and so it starts with him, and then our D just roll. We got our assistant captain Hunter Mazzullo, and then our true freshman, one of the Johnson brothers, Alec Johnson. He had 2 huge power play goals for us. Super skilled D-man, demands the puck even as a defenseman, always in the play. But and then you go into our forwards. The list goes on and on. With you can start with the other Johnson brother, Max Johnson, just leading the way, and every single night bringing it. There's all the loose pucks he's on, and he's got a scoring touch, and just hard nosed. And you can see at the end of that he can defend his teammates. You've seen the end of the last game, kind of stuck up for a teammate and is going against a guy 5 inches taller and kind of feeds it to him. So yeah, it just shows how tough these kids really are.
We're joined by Anthony Greener, the head coach of the Skating Rebels of UNLV here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Coach, it's funny as I always like to ask, what's been the biggest difference between the beginning of the year and to this point? After you guys started, I think 3-3, you got on that roll you talked about. What has been the success? What has been the secret of success, I guess, to keep that rolling and to keep the momentum going here into the second semester?
I think that in years previous, a little adversity, we'd never really bounced back. We were always a good team to play with the lead, but we weren't a very good team, as starting with the staff down to the players and all the way down. We just weren't very good from playing from behind. But on that 16-game win, I think we were behind in 5 or 6 of those games.
Wow.
Third period comeback wins, 3 overtime wins. So it just shows the adversity of the team and the character that, they're stuck together. They're playing for the guy next to each other, and they never give up on each other.
Now, I got to ask you, you talk about the character of the kids. It's hard not to look at the website and see that you're ranked 4th in the country. How has it been to kind of keep them grounded? It's obviously worked because your record's really good this year, but how's their focus going into the last portion of the schedule before they start maybe thinking towards nationals?
Yeah, I think our model is just kind of just one game at a time, worry about what's in front of us. It's a computer system. Thing changes weekly. Do we think we should be somewhere else? Yeah, I'm sure 60 other teams in the league think they should be somewhere else. But again, we can only control what we can control. So kind of just take it game by game, period by period, and shift by shift, and go on from there. But these last 6 games are just as big as anything else. 4 more computer rankings. And then, let's just see if we make one of our goals on our goal list at the beginning of the year. And one of our opening meetings as a team was to be in top 4 in the country.
Well, Coach, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about yourself. It's something I always like to do with my first-time guests on the show. I noticed that you moved out. You were born in Wisconsin. You moved out to Vegas at an early age. What did a Vegas boy? How did you get interested in hockey out in Las Vegas?
Actually, it was my neighbor. I was always a baseball kid. Obviously, growing up or being born in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
my grandfather, there wasn't a lot of ice. My neighbor, actually, his dad coached hockey and was like, "Hey, come out one time." And from the first time on, I kind of had a knack for it. Wasn't the best skater when I was younger, but I could score, and never looked back after that. That was the sport. Kind of forgot about baseball and dabbled a little bit with lacrosse growing up, but other than that, it was just strictly hockey. And I haven't looked back since.
And I see you came over to my neck of the woods for a while at Traverse City playing juniors or whatever. Then it brought you back to Vegas. You played with the Skating Rebels, and you guys had some success there. And what's been the biggest difference from playing now and going behind the bench?
We're just talking about with my grad assistant last year at practice is there was things as a player, you just one ear out the other because you thought you knew everything. Sit back, and then when you're a coach, you're harping at the same things that you 10 years prior. And like I said, I was talking to a grad assistant. He comes up to me. He's like, "Now I know why you were always in my ear," because he can see the little things. So it's just a circle of life. You're teaching everybody what you know, and then I'm still trying to learn, and I know the rest of my staff is still trying to learn. If you don't evolve with the game will leave you behind. So I think that as long as you're a sponge of the game still, you can help, what you know and continue to learn.
Who was your favorite hockey player growing up?
Peter Forsberg. I was a big Peter Forsberg fan. He was really naturally gifted with the puck, and he was physical and always moved the puck. And he was just fun to watch. I enjoyed watching a lot of his games. And obviously, there's Ovechkin. I enjoyed him, but Americans, Patty Kane and Austin Matthews have now taken that to a new level. But always growing up, it was Peter Forsberg. I'm an Avs fan for that.
An Avs fan, huh? Well, should I tell you I'm a Red Wings guy?
Oh, there was some good battles then. I've semi-converted, obviously being Vegas now, and my brother and I share season tickets. But deep down in my heart, I'm still an Avs fan. I'll always root for the Knights, but when it's Avs nights, it's pretty tough.
Oh, I bet it is. Last thing, I know you took over as a coach 2015-16, I believe it was, and you guys have enjoyed some good success. Obviously, I could ask you the obvious question, moving from D2 to D1, the competition's a little bit tougher, but it's got to make you proud that you guys have really, the success that you've enjoyed. And, I know you're not finished yet, but, you're making that jump, and it seems to be going pretty good for you.
Yeah, obviously there's another goal that we want to get to. We want to win a national championship at this level, and then hopefully down the road, if it's with myself or my staff or whatever it may be, get UNLV on the map to the Division I NCAA level. But as of right now, it's taken a lot of, it's cliche to say, some blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point. We're going to get better. The program's going to get better. We're not done yet, but definitely happy to see where we've become so far.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking time out tonight to be with us on the show. Continued success this year. Go get them in your last 6 games. And I know you don't like to look too far ahead, but hopefully if everything works out right, we'll get to see you down in St. Louis in March and get a chance to meet you in person.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you.
12-ounce sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12-ounce sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 120ZE and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sports book. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12-Ounce Sports. Zingo TV channel 761. Of course, you can catch us on our 12-Ounce Sports platform and networks. We're on Twitch, our Facebook Live page, our Twitter Live, our website, 12ouncesportsradio.com, and, of course, check out our YouTube channel as we bring you all of our live shows on all those platforms. You can catch myself. I invite you to watch Philly Pete, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, high noon. If you're looking for the go-to man for the latest and greatest in all the betting odds for hockey, I'm telling you, he's won me a lot of coin in the last couple of years. I highly, highly recommend you check out Philly Pete on our network. High noon, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. He's got the latest and greatest in all the sports lines for hockey especially. We've got so many great shows on our network. The Rome Show, Monday mornings, 7 to 8:30 Eastern Time, to get you caught up on everything that went on in the previous weekend. He had great conversations about the NFC and AFC championship games this past weekend. And, of course, our daily show in the morning at the AM Drive, 10 to 11 Eastern Time. Aaron and Mike do a fantastic job. And I'd be remiss without talking about Minor League Rando, 8:30 on Monday nights. But the first half of the tag team, the doubleheader spectacular here on Tuesday nights. The Burn with Mitch Bernstein. And I'll tell you what, he had one hell of a lineup here tonight. Jason Stark from ESPN talking baseball. He had Dale Scott, former MLB umpire, and, of course, the Negro League greats, the president of the association with Black History Month. I know Mitch spends a lot of time with them, and he does a lot of hard work. He's got some great guests lined up. And he's, like I said, I'm going to have to step up my game to keep up with the man that's Mitch Bernstein. You can catch him Tuesday nights right before us, 6 o'clock, or 6:30 rather, Eastern Time here on 12-Ounce Sports. Well, we've got about 25 minutes left of the show tonight, and we got a lot to talk about in football, some good, some not so good, along with Major League Baseball. You know, I'm going to start with Major League Baseball. Let's get that underway. Pitchers and catchers are supposed to report technically in about 12 days. Well, I'm here to tell you, hot take, breaking news, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to happen. These two sides are so far apart in their bargaining, it's laughable. You know, I look at their proposals that, you know, it's been leaked what they've offered. They want a competitive balance tax. The players want it. Well, they have it with the luxury tax. The players want it to $245 million. That's when you can start the luxury tax. The owners are at, I think, 214. They're $31 million apart. So that tells you neither one of them are real serious about getting into that. Then you've got all the things with the eligibility for free agents. Something else I looked at that the Players Association dropped its bonus pool request for our pre-arbitration players from 105 to 100 million. I think the owners are at like 10 million. It's laughable. The minimum salary, the players want $775, and I think the league's offering $615. These two teams are so far apart. And, it's like I've said, nobody took it seriously on December 1st because really it was the off season. But now it's getting down to crunch time. The owners are going to start losing money here pretty quick. Spring training starting next week with pitchers and catchers. Not so much, but once the games start, they get people like me that like to go to Florida, maybe watch a few games in March. There's going to be no games in March. My bet, and I was listening to Mitch talk to Jason Stark and a couple of the other guests, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed till April 1st. Now, some say that's not such a bad thing because they should shorten the league to 140 games. The owners are never going to go for that. They lose too much money. And the players, it worries me. I love baseball. I went on my rant last week about the MLB, about the Hall of Fame vote. That was my first love, was baseball. That and football. And I look at it, and these sides they're not even close. And I'm not surprised by it either. They go through this time and after every, But now we're looking at a possible work stoppage in the beginning of the year. I think first weekend is right around April 1st. It's not going to happen. There's no way. And I hate to be a pessimist, and I'm usually Mr. Pollyanna optimism when it comes to something like this. I think that in this instance, there is such a distrust and a dislike between the owners and the players. And it's been growing. Not just in the last CBA, but ones before that. There's such a divide right now between both sides. And it's neither one of them is going to come out of this unscathed. I get it. But I think obviously once it starts hitting them in their pocketbooks, the owners with spring training and the players, towards the mid to end of April or March, when they realize that they're going to start losing paychecks, then you'll see the breakthrough. And that's a shame. In a perfect world, they would bargain like most normal people bargain. Get in a room, bargain for 3 or 4 days, get it hammered out. Just dedicate it. But they're not going to do that because nobody's going to tell the owners, nobody's going to tell the players what to do. As I mentioned before, I'm on a bargaining committee for my job. I'm our union steward. I've been part of 3 contracts, negotiations. They weren't pretty, but we always set aside, the first 2, we always set aside a week. And the first instance was 8 days. Second instance was a week. And we hammered out TAs, tentative agreements. Now, the last one, we didn't do it that way, and it dragged out. That's what baseball's doing right now. And it proved to me that it didn't work out then. You got to get these guys in a room, guys and gals in a room. Lock the door. Well, not lock the doors, but shut the doors. Tell them you got a week. Sleep on it overnight, come back. I guarantee you they'll hammer it out. And it won't even take a week. I guarantee it. But right now, baseball's in such a bad spot. And you got this lingering with the Hall of Fame vote. That doesn't help anything. And, it's just, it pains me. Because there's nothing I like better than turning on the radio, listening to the Tigers or whoever on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon at the beach. My wife and I will go to the beach or whatever. She'll be reading her book. I'll have the game on in my headset or whatever, listening. Both of us are happy. Now I got to listen about interior linemen for football season in June or in March or April. Although the USFL's starting back up, maybe I'll have that that go to or hockey playoffs. But baseball's got to do something. There's the instance right there. You got USFL coming. That's going to take a chunk of the viewership. And then you got hockey playoffs and basketball playoffs. And I said it before. They're really digging themselves a hole with the younger crowd. And I use my son as an example. He's a sports fan, loves sports. He loves football. He loves the NBA, and he loves soccer. I've taken him to baseball games. They bore him. Soccer, 90 minutes, you're done. Baseball, 90 minutes will take what? 4 innings? Maybe? Except if you go to a Dodgers or a Yankees game, hour and a half will take 3 innings. Well, it'll take, 3 innings. Baseball's got to get it together. That's all I can say. Well, let's get back to football. We talked about it. We got the Super Bowl coming up, but we got a lot of news off the field. Tom Brady, he announced his retirement. It's legit. It's official. Now, where there was smoke, there was fire over the weekend. Adam Schefter reported it. Ian Rappaport went on that as well. Everybody was bagging on Adam Schefter. Guys in our network bagging on him. The guy gets it right 95% of the time. He had to have heard it from someone. I don't blame him. When you're Tom Brady, everybody's looking to get that word from you, that edge, whatever. And he's got friends, in his businesses and whatnot. It's going to leak out. I had a feeling he was going to retire. He was on Damage Control last night on his podcast on XM Radio with Jim Gray, saying he'll make the final decision. But then this morning he did. Hey, Tom Brady doesn't owe us anything. To me, it was great. I saw a comparison on PTI on ESPN. I got to give Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon credit. You've got to put him up there in a category of Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, for the amount of winning that they did. Maybe Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw. They won 4 Super Bowls. LeBron James, okay. He's close. He's 4-6. Tom Brady's won 7. So if you want to go for more wins, Bill Russell's the best. I didn't get a chance to watch Bill Russell as a player. I don't remember it. Just saw him as a coach. But I've watched films. The guy, all he did was win. He was on a team there. What did he win? 11 as a player and a coach. Tom Brady's won 7. The guy was not the most physical specimen, obviously, but his work ethic and he's a winner. Now, you can throw Spygate, Deflategate. I don't even want to hear the Deflategate crap. You still got to go out there and play the game and win. Do you think really deflating the football made that much of a difference? And those that say that's the only reason you want, no, get out. No. So it's the end of an era. Tom Brady, he said he wanted to play till 45. He's damn close. He started in 2001, played at the University of Michigan. And it's so funny. I think back to, he was splitting time with Drew Henson. And George Steinbrenner signed Drew Henson out of Michigan to play baseball with the Yankees. Because his big reason for doing it was because he was tired of Michigan beating Ohio State back then. Then Tom Brady came in and took over. And here he was, 199th pick, used that chip on his shoulder. The great athletes do that. Michael Jordan, Aaron Rodgers to a certain extent. But I'm not going to put Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady in the same category because they're not. Aaron Rodgers is great. Physically, right now, he's probably a better quarterback than Tom Brady. But when you compare winning, there is no comparison. Aaron Rodgers does not hold a candle to Tom Brady. He might break some of his records, but he's going to have to play till he's 55 to win as many Super Bowls as Tom Brady did. So Aaron Rodgers he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's no Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a winner. And I know he had some good teams. He had some very good teams. And maybe he wasn't the best quarterback towards the end, but he had it up here. He's the best up here. And I'll take that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. You give me that on the Lions, who knows? Maybe he probably wouldn't have done that because of all the crap they had around him. Just ask Matt Stafford. But, you knew this day was going to come. He was going to retire. I thought he might play one more year, but he's gone out, not really on top, but he went to the NFC Championship game. It's pretty close. He could have played another year, possibly two if he wanted. But to me, there's nobody better. And I judge it by wins and losses. You can have all the stats you want. Drew Brees won 1 Super Bowl. Brett Favre won 1 Super Bowl with all those games he played. Aaron Rodgers has won 1 Super Bowl. And it's going to make me laugh my ass off if Matt Stafford wins this year and possibly another one in LA. He'll have more than Aaron Rodgers. Again, when I look at the top athletes that I've watched, now, again, Bill Russell I haven't watched, but I'm going to lump him in because he's won more championships. But the top athletes that I've watched in sports over, well, I can remember, I'll say 51 years, because I can remember starting to watch sports like when I was 5, back in 1970. I can remember Lions games, watching a couple of Tigers games. I look, Tom Brady's right there. I look at, winners in baseball. I don't know, Justin Verlander, but you look at the Yankees of the 90s, but they haven't done anything in 20 years. And I look at other quarterbacks, like I mentioned. You've got Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw. Montana, they have won 4 and 3 respectively, and then 4 for Bradshaw. It's Tom Brady's up and above them all, 7 and 3. That's not too bad. I'd take him as a quarterback to start my franchise over the last 50 years. He'd be the one. He's proven it. And I know what you're going to say. He had Bill Belichick with him. He had some good defense, real good defenses. He had to throw the ball in the end zone to the running back, or to the wide receivers and the running backs. He had to score those touchdowns. He had to lead them, and he did. He had it up here. He had it right here. He was able to lead them. There you go. Sounds like Jim Harbaugh is on his way to Minnesota to be the head coach. The rumblings are getting louder and louder. I was reading things right before I came on the air. Some of the outlets here in the Detroit area, the web pages, Chris Ballas of Wolverine.com, DetroitSportsNation.com, all reporting that he said his goodbyes, that he's heading to Minneapolis, and he's probably going to be signed as the coach. It's going to take a monumental shift to keep him in Ann Arbor. When you first hear about him going to Minnesota, you're thinking, why there? I know that the new GM, used to work with him in San Francisco. And I at first when I thought about Minnesota, I'm thinking, okay, the first thing you think of obviously is quarterback. Kirk Cousins can put up numbers. No getting around that. He's an established quarterback. How many playoff wins has he had? 1? Maybe 2? Is he going to be Jim Harbaugh's quarterback of the future? I don't know. They've got Dalvin Cook, a great running back, when he's healthy. Their defense is all right. He's going to have to change the culture there. That locker room was so toxic when Mike Zimmer left. They've got a lot to do there. They're going to blow that place up. Is Jim Harbaugh really walking into that great a situation? Now, obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on Aaron Rodgers, if he stays or he goes. If he goes, then, it opens up an opportunity for all 3 of the teams in that division. The Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears. Because you got Jordan Love, quarterback in Green Bay, unless they go out and get a free agent. I don't know. I'm still a little surprised at it. They've got some young weapons, some receivers to work with there. And I said their defense is all right. It's not great. It's not the worst. They're an underachieving team. My thought is the window with Kirk Cousins, is it closed? Was it ever open? We talked to, it's funny is I thought if any team he was going to go either to Chicago or Vegas. But Vegas got their guy. It sounds like they've got a team assembled with the new GM with Ziegler and now with Josh McDaniels. Chicago's got Eberflus or whatever, however you pronounce his name. There's such a question mark in Chicago right now. Are they going to keep Allen Robinson? You don't give up on Justin Fields. He was a wide receiver, a number one pick. So they're not going to give up on him, but I don't know. And you certainly now think there is no way in God's green earth he's going to go to Miami. You thought maybe with Stephen Ross being a Michigan alum, he'd go down there. But from what has transpired in the last few hours with Brian Flores and the stories coming out of Miami, that he was going to pay him $100,000 a game to lose to tank for Tua? Are you kidding me? Why would you want to go down to that crap show? Miami's a dumpster fire. And I don't want to hear it. They've got so much going on down there. And he could be one of these guys that's going to be forced to sell. It's going to take an awful lot. Brian Flores, if you did not know, he's filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL and the Giants for their hiring practices. He's suing the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Giants, alleging discrimination regarding his interview process. There's rumors flying about how, John Elway's heart wasn't in it, and the stuff I just mentioned with the Dolphins. Dolphins general manager Chris Greer was pissed at him for winning, and that they offered him, like I said, they offered him that money. And we all see the text message. It's been on social media all day and all night, coming from Bill Belichick. He meant to send it to Brian Daboll. He sent it to Brian Flores by mistake, congratulating him on getting the job in New York. And Flores didn't even interview. He was supposed to interview Thursday. Now, they said he didn't get an interview, so they violated the Rooney Rule. Now, I don't know if they did, because from what I heard and what I've read, they interviewed Leslie Frazier. But I got to tell you, I think Brian Flores has got a legitimate beef here with the NFL. This Rooney Rule has been abused and neglected so bad. So bad. And they give these guys token interviews. They're just doing it because they have to. They have no intention on hiring these guys. If they did, Leslie Frazier would be employed. Eric Bieniemy, what's up with that? Why is he not getting a head coaching gig? Does he interview that bad? Byron Leftwich, it sounded like a foregone conclusion in Jacksonville. Now they're opening it back up. The NFL's got a problem. They've got one head coach of one minority of African-American descent. One. 70% of the league is African-American, and you've got one head coach. What is wrong with that picture? Now, I'm all about it. It's funny because you got to walk you got to look at it though, open, a little bit open-minded. The owners should be able to hire who they want. I get that. But when you buy a team, going in that you've got to look at all the qualified coaches, black or white. And they're not doing that right now. They're not. And it's a shame. It's going to end up going to court before anything changes. You got so many old guard owners in this league that don't want to be pushed around. They flaunt their billions and billions of dollars. I get it. They're paying Roger Goodell. They run it. But the courts are going to have to change it. And that's a damn shame. It shouldn't have to come to that. You've got so many qualified people of African-American descent, minority descent, that should be coordinators, player personnel directors, GMs. And they're not even scratched the surface yet. And, I kid about Jim Caldwell. He should be given another opportunity. He did well in Detroit. Detroit wanted to go to the next level. They let him go. You can argue until the cows come home if that was a mistake or not. It's looking like it with the Matt Patricia hiring. But, I just look, how can a guy, it's bad. It really is. And the team that really did the most, I think, recently in the last decade or 20, 30 years was Al Davis and the Raiders. But there's just so much room for improvement in that regard. And Brian Flores suing the NFL, he might as well kiss his ass goodbye for getting another head coaching gig, and that's a shame. I hope I'm wrong. But when you're taking on the establishment like that, ask Colin Kaepernick. I may not agree with him with everything he says, but what he did cost him his career. There's no getting around it. And unfortunately for Brian Flores, I think it's going to be the same way. The guy was 9-8. He won 8 out of his last 9, and they fired him. What the hell was that? It's a crap show in Miami. So why would Harbaugh want to go down there? Now we wait and find out now getting back to Jim Harbaugh, is he going to Minnesota? If he does, now it opens, and the timing couldn't be worse. Now you got to get a head coach coming in. On signing day, he's going to sign with Minnesota. Is that the ultimate slap in the face to Michigan? The way they treated him by making him take a pay cut? Then he goes to the playoff. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Michigan's in turmoil right now with the president getting forced out. Ward Manuel's got a lot on his plate. The hockey team's a mess right now. These allegations with COVID and everything, it's ugly. And it's not going to get any better. And if Harbaugh leaves, which it's pointing to like he's going to, wow. Who's going to stay? Who's going to hit that portal? You already see names like Matt Rule being mentioned for the job. Creighton from Eastern, it's stay tuned is all I can say. Well, that's going to do it tonight. I will give you my Super Bowl pick next week. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to be on at 8:30 next Tuesday night. Mitch's show, he asked me if he could run a little late next week. He's got another packed lineup, so we'll have a packed lineup of guests as well. Coming up, I do have one guest lined up, and it's an author of the latest book, and I'm just bringing it up on my phone right now, on my notes, see if I can bring it up. Clayton Truder is going to come on. He wrote the book Loserville, talking about Atlanta and the Braves winning, maybe breaking that stigma of Loserville. We're going to talk to Clayton about that book. He's going to come on right away next week, our first guest here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We'll have more lined up. We'll get some more ACHA coaches. Again, we are 38 days away from puck drop for the ACHA Nationals. I'm going to be down there this year. Really looking forward to it. Another year covering the Nationals. Just an absolute treat for me to start talking to all the coaches again and watching the play. It's just so much fun. If you're going to be in the St. Louis area, March 10th through the 20th, stop on out to USA Arena. Watch some great college hockey. That's all I can tell you. Well, we want to thank Dan Huntley from the University of Mary for jumping on the show tonight. The defending D2 champions in the ACHA, right now ranked number 1 in the country. And we want to thank Anthony Greener from the Skating Rebels of UNLV. Their team is ranked 4th in the country in Division I in the ACHA. Talking a little hockey. And, of course, Phil Jones talking Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders. And he's also down live at the Senior Bowl. We want to thank Phil for joining us as well. And as always, we want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out to be with us tonight. The numbers are great, and without you, it wouldn't be possible. So I always want to say thank you for taking a few minutes or the whole show or whatever to stop on by and watch us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports. Until next week, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your feet moving, keep your sticks down. Most importantly, keep your minds open. We'll see you next Tuesday here live on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports.